Good morning, Knollwood. My name is George Martinez, 43 years old, and I'm going to be getting baptized. I come from a small town of Cuesta, New Mexico. I have a very large family. My oldest sister, Phyllis. I have my brother, Tommy, my sister, Cassandra, my brother, Matthew, my sister, Yolanda, God rest in peace, my sister, April, my sister, Desiree, and my sister, Danielle. These are my siblings. My father was Manuel Martinez. May you rest in peace. My mom, Sarah Jaramillo, most amazing woman, to raise her children after losing her husband. I still think she's the strongest woman ever. My stepfather came in the picture right around when I was 4. His name's Edward Chrisman. He's retired military, but I do believe his military service is what helped develop who I am. I'm a very clean person, but it's also given me the drive to work. I don't ever see myself retired. I'll work until as long as the Lord wants me to. Well, it all started, from a very young age where, I was 2 years old and was involved in a very tragic accident, where my father was killed along with my sister. I was very fortunate to be in my mom's arms with her around me as we went through the windshield. That's pretty much, I believe, where my life started. I went through a lot of trials and tribulations, younger, growing up in a small towns, very poor, so not really too much guidance from anyone. Got involved in gangs, not necessarily got involved in drugs and so forth, but just a lot of mischief, whether it was fights and so forth. It wasn't until we moved to Washington, D.C. area where my stepfather was military that changed my life. It was no longer, the gangs thing. It was something different. Living here in Washington, D.C., I had to make a name for myself. So I became a baseball player. Well, I was a baseball player. Decided that, that was something that I wanted to get involved with. Was one of the top players in Virginia, went off to, played semi-pro, played some college and all that. And it wasn't until I got hurt, where I tore my rotator cuff and started asking a lot of questions as to, why. Why, God? Why did you do this to me? I thought that I was doing well, and just trying to find myself, So I got hurt, fell into a deep depression where I didn't leave my dad's basements for a while. It was one of those things where, I had a problem where I didn't want to live anymore. I wanted to pretty much be gone, just take the easy way out. Was being very selfish. And it wasn't until recently that I opened my eyes, and it's unfortunate that you need to, everybody needs to self-reflect. You need to take a step back from reality and find out who it is you are inside, whether the good, the bad, the ugly. We're not perfect, but at the same time too, it's, if you don't realize what you're doing and people are telling you that this, it's you that at the ultimate day that has to realize that you're wrong. I feel that I just had so many questions, as to why, Lord, why did you do this? Why is my life the way it is? The question was why. Everything was why. And you want answers. And, I was putting God in, funerals and so forth, and in small bits and pieces of my life, and not following him through the whole thing, and I think that was that was everything leading up to it. Was the question was why, So leading up to this, roughly around 2 months ago now, I fell into a dark place. I felt that my world was crumbling, not just in just everything around me, my personal life, my work life, my friends, my family. I just felt very alone. And I had reached out, to you, and I told you that I was in a deep and dark place and I needed help. And I said, I didn't shoot into details, but I said, Chris, will you please pray for me? Coming to this church, as I've always felt very welcoming, and I always felt very safe here. Well, during these events, I don't know what it was, but I felt that I felt like I couldn't be here. So, my mom was extremely worried about me. So I ended up going to New Mexico just to make sure that, I wasn't going to do anything stupid, and just to give her some self-comfort. I needed to be alone. But just letting her know that, I'm here. There's nothing bad going to happen. So, one day, I decided to, told my mom, I was like, hey, just letting you know, I'm going to go skiing. I've always felt at peace skiing just because the way I feel, the way I've grown up, and I was hiking a mountain, and it's one of the highest peaks in North America, and it's called Kachina Peak. Kachina Peak is, the highest level of expertise in skiing is considered a double black diamond. Well, this should have been, a quadruple black diamond. It's unbelievable. And it was just amazing because that day, it had been snowing a lot. I'm talking, it was 1 to 2 inches every hour. Well, I started my hike, and I was so focused in getting to the peak of the mountain, even with the conditions the way it were, and you're talking, you're in 2 feet of powder. But I was just so focused that I didn't even pay attention to the "we're closed" signs, off limit signs. I don't know whether a pole had fallen down, just letting me know. But I continued to walk. Got to the peak of the mountain, and I just sat up there. I found a rock and just sat there. It wasn't until I started praying and talking to my dad, talking to my grandma, where towards the end, I just felt the chill in my body, and I felt or heard a voice saying everything's gonna be okay. From that moment on, it was kind of a breath of fresh air, excuse me. I just felt at peace, I just felt like, if something happened to me today, I was ready, Well, ever since then, I just felt very, very wowed, that who's talking to me? Is it my dad? Is it God? Who is it? So I strapped on my skis and, for once I had no fear in me. I've always had a nerve going down these, expert slopes, going off cliffs and all that other stuff. But that day just really, from there on out, I just felt calm. No nerves, no nothing, which I found it very extremely odd. And it wasn't until, I actually started strapping on my skis and going down the mountain, where I see some red lights and, you don't pay attention, you're just like, well, what's down there? Because, it's snowing so much. You don't realize that it's the ski patrol warning you not to go down. Well, it's not like they can yell up to you with an intercom, you're at the top of the mountain. So unfortunately I ended up going. Well, I did cause a small little avalanche, and unless you've been in an avalanche, you'll never understand the sound of an avalanche. And once it breaks, you hear it, and it's a crack. It sounds like thunder and lightning, and just the way it is, And so of course you ski to the highest peak, and all you can do is wait until you don't hear that sound anymore. And was it God telling me to wake up? Was, why did this happen all of a sudden? So obviously there was no more sound. Skied down to the bottom and, met with the ski patrols, and, unfortunately I was getting kicked off the mountain, but it was kind of cool because, there was those ski patrols, one of them who was deep in faith, after talking with him and telling him my story about what's going on and, just in my life in general, well, I whip out my driver's license because he's getting ready to write me up, and he says, you know what? He's like, I see what's going on. He's like, you've had some moments. He's like, and clearly God has his hands around you. Let's go back up. So, we went up in the snowmobiles and we skied that mountain again. This time there was nothing in this world that mattered but him. And I truly believe that was the moment, because I came off the mountain that day and, drove, 45 minutes to my mom's house. And I cried and told her what happened. And the same exact words that I heard on the mountain is what my mom said. That everything's gonna be okay. And I think from there, it just, that's where I think I needed God in my life. So, and I reached out to you and, explained that, hey, what do I need to do? And I know I got a long road ahead of me, but time's all we have, and that's why I'm here. Well, it was crazy because having that conversation with you, there was no questions asked. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. I needed God in my life throughout, and there was just no doubt, and even in the small prayers that you and I had, I just felt very, that saying with Allstate, you're in good hands with Allstate. Oh, I hate to say it, but if you have God in your life, he'll protect you. You follow in his path, and there's the same practice as he preaches, and follow him. I understand a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, is not gonna truly get you there. But when you have God in you, when you have God, nothing else matters. It's truly the outside world doesn't. It's not that outside world doesn't exist. It just you need to do what's right. Whether it's teach His words, God has a plan. And we don't know what it is, but we follow in His path. We'll soon find out. What message. Whatever God has planned for me, I'm ready. Well, a lot's been happening, since getting back, trying to get back on my feet, going back to work, coming to church every Sunday, not watching it virtually, being here, actually receiving the message, listening to the word. This sounds crazy, but this Bible goes with me everywhere. Obviously this is the Bible Moses gave me, and you handed it to me and you said, hey, this isn't for me, it's for Moses. This Bible rides with me everywhere I go. It's in my truck. When I get to a stoplight, and I know it's going to be a long light, I'll just open it up, and read a passage. It also leads to, a conversation that I had. I was out with some friends, grabbing some dinner, and I met. There was a couple sitting right next to us, and they wanted to know how my little girl was doing. They were like, well, how is she inside of a restaurant? And we explained to her, she's a service dog, and how I battled with depression and anxiety for a while, and how she's helped me, and how she's truly a lifesaver. Just speaking with them, well, come to find out that their son has the same thing that I did. He's done, pretty young kid, he's in his early 20s, how he's tried to commit suicide multiple times, how he just, he doesn't have many friends, doesn't really talk to too many people. Well, I gave the parents my information. I said, if you guys ever need anything, call me. I gave them my business card. They're like, well, we're going to need the information because we want to get him a service dog. We need to ask him if he wants a service dog. We need to get him one. So gave him the information about where Fiona, did her testing, training, and all that other stuff. Well, it wasn't until almost a month and a half later, where I received a phone call from, a number I didn't know, but it said Gainesville, Virginia. So I answered it, and I was at work. And the gentleman on the phone, his name's Michael, and he says, hey, you got a minute? And I was like, yeah, not a problem. And he explained, he's like, hey, I'm the guy that, you met with your buddies, Eric and all them, on your birthday. And I said, yeah. I was like, yeah, I got a minute. Let's talk. What's up? And he starts saying, he's like, hey, I just want to thank you, for giving me your card. You said call anytime. He's like, my son's really going through a bad time right now. He's like, is there any way you can meet with us? And I said, absolutely. You just say when and where. And and I'll make it. Well, something had come up with them where they were unable to make it. Well, they reached out to me 3 days ago and said, "Hey, what are you doing on Friday for lunch?" The kid's name's Andrew. He's like, "We would like to have lunch with you." And I was like, "Okay." And the father said, "Please bring Fiona." So I said, "Okay, not a problem. We're doing it." So tomorrow for lunch, we're meeting up with him. Since then, I've also, told him that it's not just Fiona, it's the fact that I think that you give your life to Christ, anything can happen. I'm definitely making it a point to invite them here, and we'll see. I mean, I think that's one way that I can spread his word, and at the same time, just help somebody, I'm glad that you were here to help me, truthfully. You having faith and praying for me, it truly is a blessing. God's a blessing. Without him, this doesn't exist. Without him, I'm not here. First and foremost, it's never too late. Unfortunately, it's taken me 43 years, to realize. How would I encourage them? Read. Learn his word. Just whether it's one passage, two passage, one chapter, read. Just find out his story, and whether it's your belief or not, the fact that you're reading the word, I think that will make something click. How would I describe Jesus? See this smile on my face? That should say it all, man. That sun is shining, whether it's the ocean, whether it's the sand, whether it's the snow, whether it's the mountains, it's him. It's all his. Why not smile about it? That's what I picture. And to be honest with you, even when it rains, people say, "Oh, well, it's raining outside." It's day to stay in bed. I don't look at it that way. What is he doing? He's cleansing the earth. He's washing away our problems. That's how I look at it.